Hello, friends. Some of you might know that I grew up on a farm. And although I loved the cute little animals on our farm, what I didn't love was farming. I guess I didn't really even do any of the farming, let's just be real. But in the summer, there was one job that I was expected to do, and that was walking beans. Okay, walking beans is where we'd walk the bean rows to hoe out any of the weeds. So here I am. I'd have to get up early at 5 a.m. in the summertime on my summer break to get on my old jeans, my old shoes, my work gloves. I'd have to grab my hoe and have my dad drive me to the field to walk the bean rows for hours underneath the hot sun with the scary bees buzzing in the plants and nobody around to talk to. It was just me and the dirt and the weeds. And some of the weeds were so big, you guys, literally you would stand in place and just hack away to get that one giant stalk of weed down. It was such hard work. I literally hated doing it, for real. And I didn't even care that I was making money. But regardless, because I walked those bean rows and I hoed out those weeds, it did increase the harvest for my family. I never really thought about the greater purpose of it all as a teenager, let's be real. My thoughts were always just on what I had to do at the time and how I felt. But now, as an adult, I can look back and I can see how fruit came from that hard work. And not only did it bless my family with a better bean crop, but it also taught me how to work hard and to do things that I didn't like to do. Little did I know, God had me in training during those years because more hard things would come up in my life. So I want to pose this question to you today. What hard things have you gone through in your life? I'm sure some seemed minor and others quite major. And as I look back in my own life, I can see that there has been a testing of my faith in those trials. And I have learned that how we respond to hardship can either produce bad fruit or good fruit. James 1:2-4 says, "Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds. For you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. And let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing." Trials produce opportunities to test our faith, right? They strengthen our faith and they produce a steadfastness in us. Now, I'll be the last one to invite trials into my life, for sure. I was the last one who wanted to be out in the bean field. However, over the years, I have been able to look back and see the good fruit that God has produced through the really hard moments in my life. I remember in college, I gained the freshman 15, and I really struggled with my weight at times. You guys, I couldn't wish it away in a day like I wanted to, but I couldn't. And I felt angry about it. I felt embarrassed. And honestly, I was a little in denial every time I saw myself in the mirror. But I took some time and I really talked with God about it. And I let Him in to that vulnerable space. And He spoke to me saying that He wanted to teach me that my worth was not in my body shape. He wanted me to see myself through His eyes and not my own. He wanted me to see that I was valuable and beautiful because I was His. So this example was a minor hardship in that season of my life. But whether we're in minor or major hardships, God still can grow fruit. Well, then came my journey into parenting. And there was a time when I was parenting two little people, and I was totally and completely overwhelmed. I found this interesting entry from my journal from 2015, and I'm going to read a little bit of it to you. June 19th, 2015. I've had so many tough moments in parenting. 2 weeks ago, we had the play date from hell. My child spit at the other kid's mom, who just happened to be a brand new family at Substance. This was the first time that we got together at their house, and my child had a crazy meltdown tantrum that I've only seen in the bathroom in the privacy of our home. I was mortified, angry, sad, frustrated. And on the way home, my kid takes off half of the seat belt, and we almost have a collision with a school bus. And my second child was in the car too. I just cried. I know God will redeem all of this, but right now I feel like I'm just trying to survive. There were many entries like this, I'm just telling you, in my journal. And where are all of you mamas with tough toddlers at? I mean, come on. I feel you, friends. I really, really do. What's cool, though, is the next day's entry, June 20th. In quotes, "You are my hiding place. You will protect me from trouble and surround me with songs of deliverance," Psalm 32:7. When I feel like I just want to run away, escape my challenges, avoid my struggles, I can hide in him. He is my hiding place. He is where I find refuge. He is where I find release and rest and contentment. Hope. The fruit of all this, honestly, my character grew. And I grew closer to Jesus because I desperately needed him. Romans 5:3-4 says, "Not only that, but we rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope." You know, in between the days where I struggled with my weight and I was just trying to survive as a new mom, I've had many other hard times along the way, but the final one I want to share with you is my experience with hurtful people. So I've had my share of people who've been hurtful to me, whether it was a mean, aggressive church member that bullied me when I was a young outreach director in my 20s, or an extended family member who made false accusations against my husband and I, saying words that stung and were untrue. Both experiences had me wanting to run away and shut the person out of our lives forever. You guys know words can be so hurtful and cut so deep. Proverbs 12:18 even says that. It says, "There is one whose rash words are like sword thrusts." Well, I can say that Josh and I have had our fair share of those. In the middle of it all, though, God has been teaching me throughout the years how to love my enemies. You know, I had a convo with a friend, and the Lord spoke to me directly through her. And I learned that when there is a person that either sees me as an enemy or is acting like an enemy, I find myself feeling consumed with thinking about them. All I can see is them. But instead of focusing on the person that's hurt me, okay, this was revolutionary for me. Instead of focusing on them, I need to move them off to the side of my vision so that I can clearly see my real target, which is the enemy, which is Satan. Ephesians 6:12 says, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." So once I got the person out of the way, the enemy could no longer hide, and I could see him clearly for who he was. I knew who my real target was, and I could start fighting with spiritual weapons of warfare. And you know what that weapon looked like? Praying blessing over that person. I mean, it wasn't easy, for real, but I literally started praying blessings over this person that had spoken so many hurtful words against me and my husband. You guys, I cried before I could pray. I didn't want to pray blessings. You know why? Because I was afraid that if I prayed blessings over her, that somehow it would make her feel like it's okay to keep attacking us. But Matthew 5:44 says, "But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your Father in heaven." And pray for them, not so that they'd shape up and then my life would be better, right? Truth be told, I prayed these prayers. "Lord, please bring her to freedom and release her from her chains so she could see the lies she's been believing from the enemy, and then she'd stop coming after us and leave us alone so our lives can go back to just being peaceful." I mean, sometimes we want to pray for the benefit of ourselves, and understandably so, right? But true prayers of blessing have no benefit for ourselves attached. I needed to pray for her just so that she would experience the goodness and the favor and the mercy of God for herself. And even if the blessings would never even impact me on this earth. My heart was for her. Moving the person out of the way not only brought freedom to me, you guys, but put that person in a position for potential freedom for herself too. Let's be real. Hard seasons are real in our lives. You know, Susie Larson says in her devotional called Prevail, that's the name of it. She says, God leads us into the desert, not to dismiss us, but to deliver us. He reminds us that we are not what we do, we're someone he loves. The desert is the place where we break unhealthy attachments to the things of this world. I love that part. The desert, the hard moments in life, are the places where we break unhealthy attachments to the things of this world. What unhealthy attachments do you have to the things of this world? Do you have an unhealthy attachment to food or people's approval of you? Your image as a mom? Your need for success? I'm guessing that many of you could probably name a hard season you've been in or might even be in today, but I want to encourage you, friends. God is there with you in the desert, and he has fruit for you to reap. And this is not a think positive statement, okay? It is a truth that God's word clearly declares, Romans 5:3-4. However, just to be clear, I am not minimizing the hard things in your life or in mine. It doesn't make it okay that those people hurt me, or that I was not taking good care of my body, or that my life was consumed with an intensive and explosive toddler. And one thing I have learned, being a person who's wired to be optimistic and positive, I mean, that's my nature, I've learned that it's so important to name and feel my own feelings. So I'm talking to you out there who you're always positive and you're always happy and you can always see the glass half full. You know what? We need to stop and feel our real emotions too. I learned that. But I'm also not going to let those negative feelings have center stage for the rest of my life, because there is a supernatural, spiritual experience where fruit is being grown in those hard moments of life if we are open to trusting God's plan instead of our own, and move our focus from the things of this earth and set them on Jesus. So when hardship comes, lean into the tension, friends. This is where we become more Christ-like. We become holy and righteous. We become transformed. It's this tension that you'll experience between your flesh and your spirit. I've been there. I mean, I know that I should pause and pray for grace over my child, but I feel so angry right now. Or I know that I need to pray blessings over that person, but my heart literally hurts from what they've done to me. Walking out this tension and pressing in, this is the working out of your salvation part of life. Philippians 2:12. And as you fix your mind on the things of the Spirit and not of the flesh, this means focusing on Jesus and his way instead of allowing yourself to be consumed with thinking about the hurt and the anger or the pain. You will experience life and peace, Romans 8:5-6, and you will experience more fruit in your life that will not only be for you, but it will produce a vineyard of an inheritance that will pass down from generation to generation to generation. You can do this, mamas. You're not alone. You have Jesus and you have one another. And those two things change everything. I love you. Talk to you next time.